brother, Professor Black Ops. He is a good brother of mine, a good brother of ours who's looking to continue to make a big impact into the IT sector. And he's doing some fantastic things, guys. And I'm going to allow for him to introduce himself to you guys in the chat, man. Brother Professor Black Ops, man, how you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great. I'm glad to be here, man. Glad you're sharing your platform.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you for coming on today. I know it's in the middle of your workday. I said, you know what? If I'm going to get somebody on here, let me get Professor Black Ops on here to come and give us some game on the cybersecurity, man. You doing good today?
Oh, I'm doing great, man. I can't complain.
I appreciate you coming on, man. So, tell the people, first of all, what your channel is about. And then we're going to jump into a little bit more about you, man. So Professor Black Ops, guys, is a YouTuber as well. Tell the people about what your channel is about, my man.
My channel is about cybersecurity. I call it three stools. I do general news, who got hacked, what got hacked. Then I do, I call it Blue Team, where we talk about STIGs and locking down systems. Shout out to Gabe A. We always discuss STIGs in the background. The two is strategically. Let's talk about the Tesla robot. What does that mean for security? Let's talk about privacy, facial recognition in the government. Are we cool with that or not cool with that? So those are the three big topics I try to share on my channel at different levels.
Awesome, man. So tell us this, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself. You are what I would say the great of this space. You've been in this IT space for a long time. I brought you on today to not just talk about cybersecurity, as that's going to be the focus of the day, but you have a spectacular background in your credentials. So tell the people a little bit about yourself, man.
All right, I'm gonna make it short. So I call myself the OG. I actually got my bachelor's in 1990, and I actually got my MBA in 1995. So I started off as a programmer. I got a bachelor's in computer science. So I started basically as a programmer, and I just worked my way up. So I went from programmer to web admin to application admin to DBA. Then I worked for the Department of Defense for 10 years, and I worked for the IRS through the state for 10 years, and both of those are federal compliance. And both of those entities really started digging into cybersecurity. So when I was at DOD in 2005, they were like, let's get serious about security, nation states. And I was working as a web admin. So I was actually putting the settings on applications to lock them down and secure them. So I've done everything from that to policies and procedures to STIG in Oracle, SQL Server, Apache, Tomcat. So I've come from, I like to call it from the technical mud all the way up to the top, where now I advise CEOs about IRS compliance and HIPAA compliance. Now I don't even get to touch a computer, man. I just sit in the office with lawyers and talk about, if we get hacked, that's going to cost us $1 billion. How do we mitigate it? So I came from the digital mud. So tell Gabe I'm from the digital mud from all the way up to the top. So that's just a synopsis, and we can go from there.
You are the original OG, man. You got Aaron B in the chat says, I think I need to get a job in America. Yeah, man. America is where it's at. I think Aaron B is in the UK. Aaron B says this. Man, son, I wasn't even born during both those years.
Facts, man. I'm the OG. But even as OG, I got to learn. So shout out to Keep It Techin' and Gabe. Old dog, you got to keep new tricks, man. You got to get them cloud skills. You got to keep learning. Even at 50s, you got to keep learning. So you got to keep grinding out here, man.
So with that being said, I'm glad that you said that, because I was going to get to that, right? One of the conversations I had yesterday with a client of mine was about getting pigeonholed into certain type of roles in IT, right? And the degree and stuff like that he would actually get. He was asking me a question on, hey, Anton, if I get this type of degree, is it going to pigeonhole me to a certain type of, a role within IT? And I thought, somebody who can answer that question, because you've done it all. I mean, like from programmer to database administrator to web designer to cloud security to now professor as well too. Talk about the dynamic of once you get into IT, if you have the ability to learn, you can pretty much do anything and make the transition across all the different spectrums of IT. Talk about that, man.
Oh yeah, IT. Long as you have the willing to learn and have the desire to learn, you can always learn because there's always opportunities out there. When I was at a DoD, I started off as a programmer, and they call it generation, where I actually started generating code. And long story short, I wasn't busy, so I taught myself Java and Apache. And the next thing I know, they were saying, "How do you spin up Java in Apache?" I was like, "I can show you." Next thing I know, I'm on a web admin team. Because I promise you, and Gabe can chime in on this, when you're on big contracts, there's 10% superstars. 20% of those people aren't even working, man. They know somebody, they're just chilling. So there's always opportunity for you to come and get work if you want to get it. And most people, you're gonna have a few gatekeepers that want to show you that. Most people are lazy. If you can say, "Hey, let me do that for you," or "Show me how," or "You go to lunch, I'll watch that for you," I promise you they'll let you do it. So that's what I did. I identified this one guy, I'll never forget his name. Jim Sarikas was the top Oracle DBA in the Midwest. And his bill rate from Oracle was $300 an hour. I was about 28. I followed that dude. It's like, "Why are you following Jim Sarikas?" I'm like, "I'm trying to figure out how to make $300 an hour, man." And Jim was a cool guy. He showed me anything he wanted. I was just sitting next to him. He said, "This is what you need to do." He just showed me. And he was from Oracle, so he was always getting the top skill because he would go back to the Oracle campus like a month and get the top knowledge. And he would just bring it back and show it to people. So if he was giving, I was taking. So then after that, I just slowly progressed. The next thing I know, like I said, I'm advising CISOs, CEOs. I think I'm actually going to apply for a chief security information officer in my next go around. So, But no, like I said, it's a lot of skills you can get. And two is with VMs and labs every day, you can do Cisco all from a web browser. Now you can just spin up your device, virtually. Act like you're connecting them up. There's just so many ways you can get skills out there.
So guys, you heard it. You heard it from somebody who's done it over years, right? Here's the thing. Once you get into the IT space, and one of the things that we'll get to a question in the chat too, is that Professor BlackOps has two types of degrees. He has a bachelor's degree as well as an MBA as well too, right? So you think about it, the opportunities that he's had in his life, is vast, right? And the number of positions that he's had in his life as well too is pretty vast. And then there is a specific chat that's actually in here that really talks about education, and it came from, I believe, Tobias Price. He says, "PBO, has your MBA helped you in the cybersecurity field?" Talk about that, my man.
Yeah, because MBA, once you get to that level, you start talking about budgets, you start talking about risk, you start talking about managing people, which I hate, but I'm gonna start doing it. So once you start managing people, and two is Gabe and all the old guys will tell you, once you get to a certain level, everybody has those skills. So sometimes you need a tiebreaker, especially if somebody doesn't know you personally. So an MBA is going to be a tiebreaker. And sometimes, too, you're going to need a higher level degree to get you in the door, right? Let's be real. There's some gatekeepers and they're educational elitists, right? They want you to have those degrees. Now, I think you can do some of those jobs with certs, but sometimes the gatekeepers want you to have those type of degrees. So I want to make sure I'm papered up, knowledged up, and desired up, so nobody can stop me in none of those three levels. Like I tell people, I'm about this cyber life. So No, that's very important, because that was a conversation I had yesterday with the gentleman as well, is, about the degree, right? One thing that he didn't have at that point in time was a degree, and he wanted to break into cybersecurity. And I said, yeah, you can go and get the certs. You can go and get the certs. But as you continue to climb up the ladder, right, you're going to need that degree. A lot of times the gatekeepers, the leaders in these organizations want you to have a different skill set of working with other people, which is the same reason why we had that conversation on Saturday as well, is a degree is useful because it gives you an opportunity to work with all different kinds of people and so forth, right? Adapt to company cultures and things like that. So I think degrees are important, and not only that, you're a person that's actually proved it, that your degrees has allowed for you to do a lot of things within the IT space. So let's just dive into cybersecurity, man. So one of the questions that I had for you, PBO, is this.
why is cybersecurity important? Talk about the importance of cybersecurity. And I know the article kind of touched on it, but use some examples for the people that are in the chat right now, right? That don't know how important it is. Use some examples of how it may impact somebody in the chat right now.
I mean, let's start off from the ground floor. If you get your identity stolen, right, that's cybersecurity. Now you got to get a new social security card, a new credit card, right? That's just the basics, right? And two is on the other side of the company, and we talked about this at work. If you got 3.4 million clients or constituents just for you to state, if your identity gets stolen, that's $100. That's $3.4 billion we're responsible for now, right? On the business side, if you got to pay 3 million people $100 an hour, that's you in a billion, right? So, so from that perspective, then let's move up. The first time, if you Google it, is a hospital had a cyber attack. They couldn't admit patients. It was in England. That was the first person died because they had to reroute the ambulance to another hospital. And I believe that's the first time cybersecurity killed somebody. Now, I'm in the state, Indiana. One of the big hospitals got taken over. They were doing admitting patients by paper, right? Because they were trying to get ready for cybersecurity. So and you brought in Equifax. Remember, Equifax got, I think it was half the United States information got hacked. You got to remember, the CISO got fired, the CIO got fired because their stock price dropped, I think 50%. And it was so bad, they had to go in front of Congress. We always joke at that work. You don't want to be in front of Congress stuttering. Talking about why did you lose the people's information for half the United States, right? I always wish to my boss, if that happens, I'm going golfing, player. I'm not going with you. PBO's going golfing. But that's the different levels. It could be as low as, your credit card getting stolen. You could die at the hospital, or you could be in front of Congress explaining what happened to the state's information, right? So those are the three levels of cybersecurity and why it's important, why it plays a role in today.
I'm glad that you said that, because I think, personalizing it for people, now they understand, right? That, okay, well, it's getting hacked, or somebody stealing my social security number, or somebody stealing my identity, right? Like that personalizes it for a lot of people. And not only that, if you think about it, even during the pandemic that we're going through, if a hospital is hacked, man, and if it's personally life or death, and you kind of got to get rerouted to another place because, records aren't there. That takes time. It already takes a lot of time to even get checked into a hospital anyway, right? And the fact of the matter, if they don't have the correct data, all sorts of crazy stuff can actually happen in the process of you going to the hospital or even getting admitted to the hospital.
Right.
Nah, that's good stuff. So we got a couple things in the chat, some folks in the chat asking questions here. Let's see. Let's go to Restored Highly Favored. I'm just getting started. Information tech as is not enough. Practicing A+. Just started studying for Security Plus, Malcolm says. Callie Grail says, what's your thoughts on starting in help desk while in college for MIS bachelor's? I'll take that one. I'll take that one, PBO, and I'll let you take a couple of the other ones. So Callie Grails, I started at a help desk while in college. And that was the first job that I actually ever had that really gave me the IT experience. Now, before I got into the help desk, I had to do an unpaid internship because, in order for you to get a help desk job, they want to understand if you got some of the skill sets, the customer service skills and things like that. So I think overall, as a base level job, of a job that you can actually have while you're in college, that's going to pay you quite decently and give you a lot of experience, especially on the customer service side, I think the help desk is absolutely fantastic for that. So a good way to build up your skill set. And if, let's just say you are a sophomore or a junior in college right now, you don't want to consistently stay at a help desk. You're going to want to look for, the next level as you continue to progress within your college career, or even after you graduated from college, so that you can make more money. Because the help desk, typically for most people, it is the entry level. It is the mud, like Professor BlackOps say, right? And you got to have to come out of the mud in order for you to make the money that you want to make in the IT space. But a lot of us start from the mud. And I think it's a great place to start so that you can learn some really good skills, especially around the customer service aspect of it. And some of the IT skills that you may need as well, too, man. So Let's go to Francis. PBO, will a MIS degree be able to substitute for cybersecurity certificates like Security Plus? I know the answer to that one, but I'll let you take that one, PBO.
It could. I still would get the cert, but MIS, you could definitely come in and be a project manager. At the end, people just want to know you got the skills. And I work on a team of about 6 or 7 people. They got different skills. We have a compliance manager, a project manager. We have a security analyst. I'm a compliance federal analyst. We got a CISO. So there's a myriad of jobs that MIS will be able to substitute that for. So the only cert I really have is Security Plus, to be honest. I've just got enough background where nobody's asked me for those certs. I keep thinking I'm gonna get them because now I've been in the game so long, people invite me to come work for them. I just don't cold call and get interviews anymore. So maybe that might hurt me. But no, you don't need this. Like, I'm proof you don't need this cert. The only reason I got a cert is if you're gonna work at DoD or government, it's called, I think it's 8550. You got to have a cert in the area you work in. I just got the Security Plus. So I keep thinking I might get CISSP, which is the big dog. But right now I got a Security Plus, and it hasn't hurt me.
Got it. Yeah, so that's the thing, right? That's a good question that Francis asked, right? Because a lot of people do say certs are needed, especially in cybersecurity. But you just highlighted that it's not necessarily needed because you can come in as a project manager, and project managers make a lot of money. You can come in as some sort of analyst, and the analyst makes a lot of money. But I think this. I agree with you, PBO, 100%, especially towards the project management side. But if you're going to go on the more technical side, if you want to become like an information security analyst and be on the hardcore technical side, you're probably going to want to substitute or complement, not substitute. You're going to want to complement your MIS degree with a Security Plus type of certification. I'm like, that's the basic that you're going to want to get. And PBO even has it himself, a Security Plus certification. So I would say complement your MIS degree if you're going to want to go on the technical side of cybersecurity with that Security Plus. We also got Tyrese in the house. What up, Uncle Ant? What is happening, Tyrese? Tyrese said, what else up, Uncle Ant and PBO, man? We doing great over here. We just chopping it up. A continuation from last Saturday, or this past Saturday, where we was chopping it up and giving you guys a game, and we're Brother Gabe. Tobias Price says, I have an MIS degree in cyber field, and it's not really recognized in my opinion. So he was giving his opinion on having an MIS degree with a focus on cyber field, and it's not really recognized. Yeah, that could be the case, Tobias. I am not sure what your situation is, but I would say this: an MIS degree is a great degree to have, especially from the combination of business as well as the technical side. If you're looking to go too deep into the technical side, you're going to want to, obviously complement that or with some sort of certification, like we just talked about. Maurice says, PBO, am I at an advantage or disadvantage living in Silicon Valley? Meaning, when I get my degree, should I go where IT isn't so abundant? Ooh, that's a very good question.
No. I've been in Silicon Valley. Mm-hmm. The only thing I ain't love about Silicon Valley is I like to eat fried food, and them dudes kept trying to give me sushi and the price of housing. Everything else, I loved it, man. I was eating and breathing out there. It was big money. I was working with a venture capital on some compliance work for HIPAA. Oh, I loved it out there. Like I said, the thing, it is different because I'm from the Midwest. I like to roll my sleeves up. Them dudes was showing up at 10 o'clock to work. I'm like, dude, I've been here since 8. I loved it out there. Like I said, the price of housing threw me off because I'm from the Midwest. Everything else, I was pretty cool. And I'm going to respond to the one guy you just talked to. I actually worked with a guy with an MIS degree in cybersecurity. Mm-hmm. He was struggling to get in. I identified him. I liked him. So I pulled him in. So I was the gatekeeper to get him in. So you got a network. Even with those credentials, when you try to get in cybersecurity, my team is old. I think the youngest person on our team was 48, and he was the CISO, and we were schooling him. So a lot of times you get old teams. So if you're trying to get in there and you 30, you got a network. So my job is to help you with the gatekeeper. So there's a guy, he's ex-military. So he works in client services. So I talked to the CISO. I was like, he needs to work with us one day a week on this school project so he can get some time. So two, that's what I want to help too as an OG is to pull them. But you got to network sometime because most cybersecurity teams aren't big unless you're working at Google. I worked even when I was at DoD. I worked for the finance center. Our security team out there was only 10 people. I worked for a big state Department of Revenue. Our security team's only 7 people, 6 people.
Wow.
So security teams aren't big.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. So that's a good point. That is a very good point, and I'm glad that you actually said that, PBO. No matter what, right? You can get a computer science degree and graduate college and not get a job, right? Because you're not prepared. You're not networking. You're not, doing the right things to make sure your resume is up to speed. So me personally, I don't think it's necessary about the degree. It's about how you are able to bob and weave to get into certain positions. Traditionally, MIS students, they aren't taught the hard technical stuff. And when I was in school, one of the things I wanted to become was a software engineer. So I said, okay, well, in order for me to become a software engineer, I have to have a computer science minor. I have to do a little bit more coding in order for me to become in that role, because the majority of people who are software engineers come from a computer science background or a software engineering type background. So of course I complemented my MIS degree with a computer science minor, did some personal projects, and I became a software engineer. Yeah, initially when I got in, I probably wasn't up to speed as the computer science people, but once you get in, you're able to learn, right? Then you can showcase yourself, but you're able to learn and pick it up and so forth. And I became one of the best software engineers that exist out there. But that's a very good point that you actually brought up about the whole networking piece.
Let me jump in real quick. Real quick. Cybersecurity is at the top of the jobs too. So as you go up to the top, it's going to be less jobs and they're going to be hard to get. Because when I was a junior programmer, they burn those guys out, right? So they were hiring 60 or 70 of those. When we hire a cybersecurity analyst, it's one. We only hiring one or 2 at the most. So those jobs are far and few between, and they're hard to get.
Yep. Very good point. Very good point. I'll even answer and add on to the Maurice one, man, about Silicon Valley. I say this, right? Anytime you're in a tech hub of the world like Silicon Valley, because I lived in Silicon Valley before we moved to Austin. I lived in San Jose in Willow Glen. It's a unique environment. As Professor Black Ops says, is there advantage or disadvantage? That's really personal. I think he is absolutely spot on with the cost of living. So your cost of living, although you could be an advantage from a standpoint of being around some super smart people and having a lot of opportunities to go to, different companies and work at Apple and Google and Facebook and some of the other ones, Tesla, right? That's an advantage from a job opportunity side. But the cost of living in that area, it puts you at a disadvantage if you're not making a lot of money, right? Or if you have to, live in a house with 4 other dudes because you only can afford, $1,000 of rent a month, right? So that's personally a personal a thing right there that I would say that you really have to look in, and everybody's situation is going to be unique in that sort of situation. But I loved it in Silicon Valley. I absolutely loved it. I thought the weather was great. It's very expensive from a cost of living perspective, but that there's a lot of opportunities out there that exist. And the reason why I moved away was because of the cost. And, obviously Austin, the place that I relocated to, is a tech hub and becoming another Silicon Valley of the South here in Texas. So let's go to a couple more questions before we continue the conversation here. Jabari says, I'm getting in my associates in cybersecurity. Is the demand more for 4-year degrees? Ooh, that's a very good question. Associates versus 4-year degree.
You want me to take it?
You take it.
It depends on what's your background. Because we got to remember, everything really has some cybersecurity plan you build on, right? So there's red team, Gabe. He's usually hacking, tacking, right? Then you got purple team, application guys. I've done that. I'm blue team, right? I'm stigging, I'm locking it down. So what does your skill set with an associate gives you, right? I've been a programmer for 20 years. So when I go purple team, I'm like, I understand what Java is. I understand what SQL injection, command injection is. I know what the settings are for Apache and IIS to lock that down from a purple team. So what are you adding to that associates that sets you apart, right? Because I don't have a CISP, but I get a lot of CISPs calling me because I'm out the digital mud. I've done this for real. I didn't read it in a book, right? So when you talk about locking down Apache, I've done that. You talking about Tomcat, I've done that. You talk about IIS, I've done that. MySQL, I've done that. Oracle, I've done that. I'm about this life. So you got to add to it to set yourself apart, right? You got to get in the mud, grind it, lab it, whatever you got to do. So what do you put together to set yourself apart with your associate?
Good Good point. Very, very, very good point. I agree with that too. And Ant26 is in the chat. He is always bringing his knowledge over here, man. And I appreciate you, brother Ant. Thank you so much for sharing the knowledge and answering the folks in the chat as well too. And going back to you, Dejon Spencer. So get the cert. I would say this. Yes, I said if you want to be on the technical side, right? If you really want to be on the technical side of the information security, then yes, you're going to want to get your cert there. Absolutely. I would say go ahead and get the cert for sure. Knowing this, if you want to be more on the management side of it, don't worry about getting that cert. You can easily get in without getting that cert. You know what I mean? So what else is in here? We had Dejon said, I'm finished my CS degree. Should I get my master's first or get a security plus to get into cybersecurity? So he is getting a computer information systems degree. And, he's asking, should he get his master's first or get a security plus to get into cybersecurity? That's a good question.
What's his background? You more in the coaching though. I would need to know what's your technical background, what's your job background.
Yeah.
If you just straight new and you ain't never really done it, I would actually go get a job, get a year, and get your master's at night. And hopefully, the company you work for would pay for your master's, right? Because after a while, even if you got masters, people want to know if you really done it. Because I work with people with PhDs, and I didn't think they could program their way out of a paper bag. So I mean, degrees help you, but you got to really be able to do it, right? Like I said, I work with people with PhDs, and he wrote some code. I'm like, dude, we about to spin through 1 billion records. Your app ain't gonna perform, man. This is not the little shop you worked at, man. This is not 1,000 records a night. We got 1 billion records, and we got 4 hours to do it. So you got to understand how to do that at a performance level, right? So you need to combine that with real world work, right?
I would say this too, PBO, and before I even jump to that, I gotta recognize the super chat. I appreciate it, Blind Guy, his wife from their life. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for always supporting the channel, guys. If you haven't subscribed to Blind Guy, his wife and their life, go ahead and jump over to the YouTube channel. Great YouTube channel, great couple that talks about a fantastic amount of information on how to start a YouTube channel, how to grow a business, and so forth. Absolutely fantastic. I really appreciate you guys coming through support. Here's the thing on that one too, right? So I get a lot of questions and a lot of mentees and clients that ask me, Antoine, should I go and get my master's degree? Should I go and get my master's degree to get into this field? And my answer always is no, right? And the reason why I say that is because of this, guys. Before you get a master's degree, you should understand exactly why you need that master's degree in order for you to even pursue it, right? So typically what I ask questions about is, what do you have? What sort of work experience do you have? If you don't have any work experience, guys, it's no point to get a master's degree. Go and get some work experience. And then really, once you find out if you need a master's degree, then go ahead and pursue it. And let me give you an example, right? The only reason I went back and got my MBA, my master's degree, was because they were VPs in place that had their master's degree. In order for me to break into that sort of level of leadership into the company that I was working for at that point in time, I wanted to make sure I was on the same playing field with these guys. So I said, okay, well, in order for me to become a VP in this company, I went and got my master's degree. Now, if that's a reason for you to go and get your master's degree, there's a reason behind it. There's a path that you're going towards, and you're going to go and get it that way. And that's what I end up doing. I tell all of my clients that ask me if they're going to get a master's degree, focus on the experience first. You want to at least have 2, 3, 4 years of experience, and then determine what it is that you really want to do. You may want to get a master's degree in cybersecurity right away, but you may not want to be doing cybersecurity 2 years after that. Right? Then you just basically wasted $100,000, getting a cybersecurity degree, a master's at that, which is very expensive, and you're not even using it. Right? So get the work experience, understand where you want to go, your path, and then go and pursue a master's degree if it's in line for what you want to do from a career goal perspective in your accomplishment. So that's how I would answer that one, man. Ant26 left a wonderful super chat. I appreciate the support, Ant. Let me make sure I get you on here. Thank you so much. Ant says, can you brothers talk a little about the importance of knowing your audience specific to the space, being able to communicate effectively to your team, client, and leadership? how that can elevate your work. Wow, that was a good one, man. Oh, you take that one, PBO, because you're a professor, and I can add on to that. I'll let you
Okay.
take that one first, my man.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's once you get to the level, especially you talking about VP, cybersecurity, anything is you have to be able to communicate.
Mm,
Because once you get at cybersecurity, the thing people don't realize is we can talk about Linux, we can talk about Oracle, we can talk about the only management wants to know is what risk is that to my organization? And
mm,
how do you communicate that to risk and risk into dollar amounts? Like we talked about, okay, we got 3 million people, we pay $100, right? That could be $3 billion, right? So you have to effectively communicate. And remember, and I learned this at DoD the hard way, is what presentation you give to VPs aren't the same presentation you're gonna get to middle management, ain't
mm,
the same presentation you're gonna get developers. I was just starting out at DoD, this cool manager, and I did this killer manager for a killer presentation for the programmers. And I sliced it up a little bit, and I was gonna give him middle management. A head middle manager walked in, he goes, "Hi Tyrus, that's 70 slides. You're not about to show us 70 slides, are you?" I go, no, I'm not about to show you 70 slides. We need to reschedule the meeting. Right. But what you learn in time, and that's why I try to whisper to young brothers, is you need to communicate to the right audience with the right specifics for the right time.
mm,
Right. Some people want to talk technology. Some people want to talk about risk. Some people want to talk about money. Right. So
mm,
as you talked about communication, and the reason project management exists is I worked with some of the best programmers on the planet when I was at DoD. Those dudes was on a spectrum. They were scared to talk to people.
mm.
I made my job like Office Space. I'm gonna take the requirements from the end users because those guys were scared of people, right? And most of those guys was foreign. So you got to communicate. Now, brilliant guys, but they were back there with their glasses on and scared to talk to people.
Mm,
People would
mm,
look them in the eye. They would physically look down.
mm.
But I would take care of those guys because they were brilliant,
Yeah.
but they couldn't communicate.
Mm,
So if you can't communicate, even if you're brilliant, you're gonna be at the top of what a programmer is gonna make. That's not gonna be top what their supervisor make or VP or CISO level, right? That's when you can need to communicate at the right level, right time, and the right purpose.
And let me add on to that as well too, right? I think and Aaron B said it right. It's the soft skills, right? Those are some of the things that's important.
Thanks.
This is another reason why I always say MIS as well too. And the reason why MIS because you get that opportunity to learn about the business side and understand what it is that people from the business in this higher level of leadership positions, what they want, what they think that matters. It's not typically the technical stuff, right? So you're gonna understand how to blend your communication from somebody at the C-suite all the way to somebody who is a developer, and they are not the same. They are not the same. And not only that, you're going to have to learn how to communicate because you're going to have to take technical information and give it to people who aren't technical to make it make sense. Right. If you're sitting in the technical side and all you do is talk technical jargon and you go to try to talk to somebody who is a vice president of business operations, they're not going to want to hear about, this flag and this web page is not working. No, they want to understand what it is. How is it contributing to his business operations not being accomplished, or how is it contributing to him not allowing his people to do a certain task, and what processes that it may be affecting and impacting and things like that. So soft skills important. You get to learn as you go with the experience, especially as you continue to move up the chain. You may start off as a developer. You're going to understand how you communicate. You may become a team lead of that development group. You're going to have to start taking on a management role because then you have to start communicating up, and you're going to have to start managing up as well too. And you're going to learn that what your developers want and what they need isn't the same as what your management need. Your management are typically going to be looking at results and numbers, and typically going up the upper level of management, they want the communication to be as shrunk down and simple as possible. They call it keep it super simple, KISS, right? The KISS method. Keep it keep it simple, stupid. That's what it is. Keep it simple, stupid. And that's how the communication typically is when you go up to the top, because these guys are at that level, they understand it. They've been in these roles a lot of times before, and then when you say something, they already get it, right? So in their attention span, not only that, the attention spans are very minimal, right? So they'll pick it up relatively fast. So just make sure you don't use a lot of words. You keep it communication at the bottom level for the guys at the top. And if you want to talk the technical jargon, you can typically use that with your development team. Let's do this. Let's talk about something because you brought something up. PBO. You talked about the different types of cybersecurity teams. You said there was a red team, a blue team, a purple team. Talk about the different types of cybersecurity, because for somebody who is interested into cybersecurity, right? And let's just break it down for them. Let's keep it simple, stupid right now. I'm a new person and I'm getting ready to graduate, right? Or matter of fact, I want to change my career and I want to get into cybersecurity. What is one of the first things I should start to look into and investigate and so forth? Where should I start?
And I think that's an excellent question. But two, like you bring it up, is what's your skill set and really what you like to do? Because a lot of times too is, and I'm starting to get used to that. Most time in cybersecurity, we want you to have a couple years under your belt. We don't hire very new people on our security team, because if you mess up, that could cost us a couple $100 million. So now I think nowadays with the certs, people are starting to let young people on the team. But the teams I work on, the youngest person is going to be about 40. We want you to have a couple, because if you mess up, it's too big. And two is, when you do security, you're adding on to somebody else's job or checking somebody else's job. Keep It Techie's a killer Linux guy, right? So if I'm coming to security, he's the SME. I just need to make sure he's doing compliance the way we need him to do it. That's STIG, CIS, reporting to HIPAA, OSHA, right? So I need to take my security requirements, give it to Keep It Techie, and we work together to make that happen. If you've never done Linux, we can't work together. If you've never done a database, we can't work together. Now, I think, granted, now we're trying to bring in new people now with the SOC and let them look through logs. But another thing, and we're going to talk about that later, is automation now is coming in cybersecurity, right? So it's kind of taking some of the jobs away, and you're going to have to move up on your skill set because some of the simple stuff are going to be automated. But let's start off, though. If you talk about a red team, that's Gabe's specialty. You're talking about attacking, hacking, SOC, looking at logs, trying to figure out how the adversaries are attacking us, or if adversaries have attacking us, how to kick them out the system. Right? So
red team. You make sure I understand that too, PBO. So a red team is more of a threat protection, you would say?
Yes, they're going to be hacking to figure out how to hack it. They're going to be looking at logs, and they're trying to find people. They call it threat hunters, trying to kick the hackers out, because most people don't realize most hackers stay in a system for a year before you figure out they're in there and you kick them out. So red team, that's kind of more what they're doing as far as that. They're more offensive. Right? So that's more red team.
And there seems to be very, very technical as well too.
Right, because you got to figure out how to hack. You can do SQL injections. There's so many ways you can hack the network. You can look at logs and find people, but that's a skill set unto itself. The only thing I tell people about that is most companies don't hire those people on staff. We outsource that. Number one, it's a high expertise, and number two is we attack ourselves every 3 years. If you work for DoD, you got to have a penetration test once every 3 years to figure out how your system's set up. Right, so we don't have much of that in house. Right,
so we reach out to Mandiant to go and do something like that.
I don't say Mandiant is one of the top companies. We got a couple of local companies we hire out. So once we think we have the system secure, we'll pay them to say, okay, are we secure, to see if you can hack us, right?
Got it.
So that's the red team.
Got it. So the way how I understood that PBO is this, right? It's the red team is the guys in the arsenal, coming to the house, getting ready to kick down the door, right? And that's exactly what it is. The guys with the whole bunch of weapons, they're very technical, and they're like, I'm gonna break into this thing, and I'm gonna do whatever I can to kind of break into this thing. And talk about now the blue team. What is the blue team?
The blue team. So blue team, that's kind of my specialty. I think is your analogy. We're going to build a house. We're going to put some bars on there. We're going to have some alligators with the moats around, right? So we're trying to harden the systems so the hackers can't get in, right? So I do STIG. Me and Gabe talk about STIGs, but there's certain checks you can put on the system depending on who you report to, right? HIPAA has certain checks. DoD has a certain checks. Because what I tell young people is checks is money's time. Money's not infinite in cybersecurity, right? So you got to classify your system, and the systems with the SSN get the most money. If your system's over here just got HR documents so people look, you don't put much systems on there, right? You got to classify your system and put the security on the system with the most important stuff, like the HIPAA and the FISMA and the DOD and the Afghanistan reports, right? You want to lock those down. HR systems with the documents, we don't lock those down. So you got to classify your system and spend your money wisely with management, because that's what they want to know. What is the system? What's the classification? How much do I need to secure it? Right, from the protection, right? So when I lock it down, Gabe is gonna try to attack it. But I'm so good, Gabe won't be able to penetrate my system. Shout out to Gabe. I like to give him a hard time. But that's the blue team, right? So
the blue team is the protection. The blue team is like that force field that's saying, nah, you ain't coming up in this house. You ain't gonna come up in this house. Matter of fact, I got everything on lockdown. Red team is I'm coming to get you. Blue team is like, nah, you stay out. All right. What are some of the other teams that exist out there?
Purple team is the middle of that, because you got your whole architecture. Purple team really focuses on the application. You were a developer. Let's focus on application, because the first place they're going to attack you through is the application through the web server, right? Because that's what's facing outside. When people scan, when we call them kitty script scan, the first thing they're going to see is the application facing outside to the internet. So the purple team really specializes in, okay, let's lock down the Apache. Let's lock down the application. Let's double check the Java. You did parameters when you let people send information.
Yep.
We want to make sure we validate all that information so nobody can do SQL injection. Nobody can upload a virus. So they focus specifically on application. But when you do cybersecurity, you got to do everything: the Cisco, the web app, the database, the load balancer, the OS. All of that's included. But since the first thing you usually hit is the application, the purple team focuses on that.
I got it. So even so, let's just say I have an application that uses FTP to transfer files, right? So the purple team would be the person or the team that's responsible for making sure that that's secure and nothing is able to penetrate, like an FTP or something like that within the system. Okay, got it.
It's really specialized blue team. I call it specialized blue team. And the other team on there, which is the government's going to use, is the green team. What the green team does it takes what the purple team does, but it does it for your whole organization. So like I did a video where the government got graded. The top 8 government agencies got a D. So we were talking about sending a green team out. They would go out to each one of those agencies with purple team skills, but they're consultants, and they kind of like a SWAT team. They would go out and hit each one of those agencies or departments to make sure they're locked down. Then your eternal blue team would take that over once they signed off on it. Like, okay, we're going to keep it patched. We're going to keep doing it. We see your design. We understand it. We're going to keep you. And so that's the green team.
It sounds like the green team is more like consultants that get out there, or did I hear it right? The consultants that kind of does the purple team stuff, right? And then hand it off over to the blue team to say, hey, you got a problem here. Go and patch this up. And the blue team kind of takes it over.
Yep, that's it. At a level. The weird thing is I've never really seen the green team in practice. I've seen it in the diagram. We talked about it. I worked in a lot of places. I've never officially seen a green team.
Wow. No, that's
I've seen the other 3, but I've never seen
any other types of teams. So red team, blue team, purple team, green team. Any other types of teams in cybersecurity?
There's one other team, but I can't remember because I've never seen it in live and in person. There's one more, to be honest. But the big 3 you usually work with is red, blue, and purple. That's usually the big one. The other ones I think they talk about, I've just never seen them in person. We were talking about the agencies getting graded for the government. And I asked my CISO that. He goes, oh, we had to get the green team. I'm like, I thought they were fantasy. He goes, I've never seen them in real life either. But he said, because a lot of times, before I do a video for my management, I work with CISOs, I work with CEOs, and I'm cool with them. So I just walk in his office. I'm going to do this video. What's your thought pattern on your agency? Because he came from the NSA. So I said, from your point from NSA, what would you do with these government? And long story short, the thing he said he would do is he would take the CISO underneath the CIO, let it report directly to the CEO, because he believes since they got an F, it should go straight to the president and have the green team come out, which I thought was kind of unique standard. So
I like that. I like that. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. So like you, my Rolodex is big. So I just call people and ask them a question. I'm like, hey, well, I'm thinking about doing this. What's your thoughts on that? Before I do a video or if we have a conversation, I talk to people on there, then we'll get together and I bring my Rolodex with me.
Got
So
it.
that's an old term for people who don't know that.
It's good to know. It's good to have a good network of people because you're going to actually need them. Because you're not going to know everything about this whole process. And we got another super chat that actually came in. Laddie Bo, I appreciate you. Hippo character spins around in the chair, arms flung up in the air. I don't know what that meant, but okay. No, I appreciate the super chat. I really do appreciate the $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the support, my man. So Professor Black Ops, talk about this, man. Like, obviously you don't have the certifications, but there are people who think the certifications are very important, right? Obviously, I think you said you have a Network Plus, right? Or what was it? Security Plus?
Security. I got Security Plus.
Right. What are some of the other types of certifications that, the folks here that are looking to get into cybersecurity, let's just say they have a degree already, so they don't need to go back to go to school, but they want to get into cybersecurity space, and they do have some years of experience, some management and stuff, so forth like that. They are professional. What are some of the certifications that they should be looking at trying to get in order for them to get entrance or gain an entrance into the cybersecurity field?
Like we talked about, depends on what area you want to go to. Let's start with the basics. Is Network Plus. Anytime you're going to do cybersecurity, it starts with the network, controlling your traffic, VLAN, subnets, how that works. You got to understand that because that's the basics of cybersecurity is figuring out where the hackers at, controlling where they could go. Make sure, like Capital One, your database wasn't up to the internet. They misconfigured it, right? Nobody checked the traffic on the internet, and the hacker went straight to the database and took it, right? So you need to understand it. But two, once again, is I work with a compliance manager. She's close to a project manager. Her job is to say, these are our findings we're reporting to HIPAA. These are our findings. This is what we need to report. And she sends me out, John, go talk to the Linux guys because we got all these findings. What are they doing over there? She doesn't know any of that. She said, these are our findings. We got a whole bunch of Linux. She know Cat 1s are bad. So she said, hi, Tyre, go talk to the Linux guys, see what the hell's going on. We can't get them to patch. What's wrong with our patch cycle? Patch Tuesday's not working. So as the technical guy, I go get her, and I bring her information back, and she figures it out. Because when you report to a federal agency, that's why I like it. It's like 1,200 pages you got to give them because they want scans on all your OS, all your database, and its findings, and you got to get it a certain level to pass to get federal information. She's not technical, but she's a compliance, and that's project management.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So talk about this, right? You said something, and I'm gonna make sure I got this right too myself, right? Because I'm learning. Obviously I'm not in the cybersecurity space. Talk about the Capital One situation, right? Where they had access to the actual database. Was that the purple team's fault, right? That this application or this system, was able to get penetrated from the outside? Was that the purple team's fault, or more the blue team?
I would say blue team because purple team is with blue team, but it's a lot of people that applies to because number one is you have a CTO that designed that whole architecture, right? Me as the blue team, a lot of time is I can't tell the CTO how to design it. I can tell him if it can pass federal compliance, right? Because you can do a 3-tier, 4-tier mobile app, right? I'm not going to tell him how to design it. My job is to make sure it's locked down and secure, right? So for me, I think that would be blue team because after that got spent up, they should have scanned the network and noticed that they were outside. But the problem with that is sometimes is people don't communicate with the security team because we a bottleneck. So sometimes you have a programmer put something in there. They don't want to deal with the security team because it's going to take more cycles. It's going to be more expensive. I might tell him I don't like how he designed. So sometimes they try to go around us. So I always joke with my boss, the chief information security officer. I tell him, we need to fire one developer a year so we can get everybody's attention, right? So I always tell them to go out and yell at somebody. So we got to make sure we're communicating and everybody buys in. Because if the CTO doesn't buy in, I can't make him do security.
Yep.
Now the president can make him do security when we get hacked and he get a fine. So sometimes we don't get along with development.
Yep.
I have developers to this day hate me. I said, dude, when we get hacked and you get fired, I'm gonna laugh at you. I'm gonna be realistically, but I have to get management buy-in, and they got to make sure everybody's on board with security. And it takes a while, because the first place I was in, they had zero security. And you would tell people, they would tell you, I've done this stuff for 30 years, right? So now we got to get buy-in from that team. Sometimes management forces it. Sometimes you got to communicate and help them understand why we doing security.
Got it. I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that for saying that. I tell you one thing, as a software engineer, we never went to the security folks, InfoSec, none of that stuff, right? I mean, like, you don't have time for it, right? A lot of that stuff that goes into production, a lot of times you want to get it done for the customer. And if, let's just say, there's an outage that happens really fast, the best thing you want to do is put a patch out there, and you may put it in a QA or a staging environment to get it tested real quick, to push it in production. Yeah, you don't want to go through InfoSec to have that blessed, because that takes, I mean, typically the SLAs for InfoSec is like 24 to 48 hours, right? So you're absolutely right. A lot of times people bypass the security teams in order for them to get things done a lot faster. Let's go here. Titan, there's a question that came up there for Francis. What are good internships and job experiences to get while a freshman in college? And also, can I be 19 years old and get a Security Plus certificate while in college?
Yes. For me, 19, good internship is any internship you can get using IT. Like I said, help desk, great. I did help desk, so I was a junior program. Anytime you get a touch computer in any facility, y'all don't remember this. I'm old enough. On a mainframe, you should actually have to take tapes and put them on a tape machine so the COBOL could read it. The room was 32 degrees because I was in there with a Parker putting on tapes for the JCL for my first internship, because they wanted you to figure out when you yell down there for tapes, if you work down there, you would be easy on those guys. If you never worked down, you'd be like, where's my tape? I'm like, dude, I got to get 50 tapes in these racks, man. You're not the only dude, right? So they wanted you to work in the you need to Google that. You probably don't see tapes in the mainframe room. And it was like 30 degrees. Like I said, you had Parkers on putting tapes, and you had to thread them to the machine so the mainframe couldn't read them. Right? That was my first job. So anything you could touch on a computer and get some IT and you can write on a resume is a good internship.
Okay, that's very good. We'll go to some of the other questions in the chat up here. You had Tobias Price asked Ant26, since he's been answering a lot of questions, and I really appreciate it, brother, again, for you interacting with the chat. Do you have a channel? Ant26 says, nah, I've been thinking about it, but want to stay low key. I got you on that one for sure.
Come on, Ant. We need you, Ant. Come on into the Ant.
We do. Man. If you got the knowledge, you need to share it, man. We certainly do.
Man. Come on.
Blind Guy's wife says, communication across disciplines is important. A major part is being able to listen, understand the input, then translate it in a way the audience understands. That is the whole basics of soft skill and communication in general. It's active listening and really understanding based on what you're hearing, what you're seeing, and what you're feeling from the people that's actually communicating, and how you're adjusting your communication to meet them where they are so that they can hear your communication back. But first, in order for you to communicate back effectively, you actually have to actively listen. Understand exactly what they're saying, what they're trying to say. And if you don't know how to do that, there's simple techniques that you can use, right? You can say things like, let me make sure I understood you. I did it quite a bit when me and PBO was talking today, right? Because he's explaining concepts of information security that I may not be familiar with, right? Actively listen. So let me make sure I understand what you're saying, PBO. Does this mean this? Does that mean that? That's actively listen. And not only that, just make sure that you're getting a good understanding of what the other person is saying, right? And those are simple soft skills that you can use today that's going to help you build a relationship with somebody, but also understand. And once you understand somebody, they're going to be more receptive to having a conversation with you. Blind Guy, his wife, and their life, that was absolutely fantastic. Basic language, not complicated words, absolutely right. I say this all the time. Talk to people as if you're like the bread on the bottom shelf, right? Like, everybody can get to it. Doesn't matter if it's a 2-year-old, right? You walk into a grocery store, and there's a basket of bread or a roll of bread or a packets of bread on the shelf, right? Don't put it at the top of the shelf, right? Because a lot of people can't reach that. But if it's at the bottom shelf, that means everybody can get it. So communicate that way to where you're using basic communication, and that's going to help you throughout your career.
Let me chime in on that one. I agree with you, but you got to be careful, because when you step new into the organization, they're going to make sure you understand the industry jargon and make sure you're legit.
Absolutely.
So they're going to hit you with cybersecurity terms. If you're a programmer, you're going to be a DBA. They're going to ask you, certain terms. And if you don't understand them, they're not going to think you legit. So remember what you said. The right audience gets the right verbiage.
Right? That's good.
The higher you get up, you need to make it simpler, right? Because they want one page, they in and out. They want to know risk and money. They don't care about the Linux. They don't care about the patching. They don't care about what's the risk. Okay, how much is it gonna cost to fix? And what's the qualified? Can we get hacked or not? That's what we need. High tower. We don't need all that other stuff. One page. So.
No, that's good. That's a good point. And one thing that you actually said was industry jargon, because you hear it all the time, right? And that's another thing too. A lot of times people use industry jargon quite a bit, right? And if you're a person that's not familiar with a certain technical term, like I'm working with a client right now, and they use things like LSPs and RSPs and stuff like that. And like, what is an LSP? You go and Google it. It could be something else, or it could be like a logistics service provider. Like, ask those questions. Okay, well, can you help me understand what an LSP? Can you explain what an LSP is? That's another soft skill that you can use actively listening to ask those sorts of questions. So I'm glad you actually said that. The jargon is very important. Let's go back in here. Tangeray. Oh, Tangeray, you left a super chat. I appreciate you, man. You always supporting me as well, too. This information is invaluable. We need to work to blow this BlackHeights channel. I appreciate you, man. I really do appreciate you. Thank you so much for your support. You're always here supporting us, and I really do appreciate you there.
One quick question before that. The reason network guys are talking about Python, anything with networking that's volume, they automating it with Python. So if I need to spin up Cisco VMs, I'm gonna automate it with Python. Yeah.
You talking about Ray No Cherry. So yes, he brought up. Yeah, I hear networking dudes talking more about Python, understanding
automation,
OS stacks, TCP, and up. Yep.
The automations. TCP is the standard protocol for networking, OS stacks. There's 7 layers where it goes up for networking, but the Python is the programming now, because when you spin up this stuff in AWS, you're spinning up thousands or whatever that is, so you got to automate it. So that's why everybody's getting the Python and programming, because everybody's trying to get to DevOps. Now you are a Cisco guy. DevOps is, I need to spin up this router virtually in 1,000 spots. Especially, I worked with global companies, so they doing that in the Brazilian office, the European office, right? So you got to automate all that stuff.
Nope, that's good.
What
was
the DoD?
So this is, I'll jump back to that one, because Francis asked the question before, but before we get there, a blind guy, his wife, their life says Black Ops was in Alaska conditioning, making moves while Parker zipped up tight. Great story about
real life, man. Real life. Man. Google it. People don't even know what a tape is anymore. Real talk, man. I was happy to get that internship, man. I was happy to get it, man.
Francis says that PBO, when you mention the Department of Defense, is that the same thing as the DoD scholarship available to college students?
I believe so. I need to double check it. But yeah, Department of Defense, like he mentioned before, they're trying to up the level of cybersecurity people. So now they're giving scholarships out to people, especially females. There's a ton of scholarships out there for females. So, but yeah, there's a ton of scholarships out there. Especially if you're a black person, especially black, they work on a PhD, really anybody. But if you're a minority trying to get in there, scholarships are out there galore.
No, that's good to hear. So talk about this, right? We haven't got to this. And Venator, I'm about to get you. Well, before we get to that, Venator says, so I can stay motivated to make my videos. My channel is also getting me to experience solve problems in tech. Yep, absolutely. So Venator is an MIS major, and he has a channel out there. I'm not shout out your channel, Venator, so we can put it in the chat too and get folks over there. But yes, absolutely. So that's the thing about having a channel as well too, guys. It is having the ability to learn, right? Because I get a chance to bring in people like Professor Black Ops, people like Gabe, people like Gibran, people like Rich, right? That can come on this channel and share information, and it's keeping me sharp, right? I just learned about this whole red, blue, and purple team today, right? And obviously, I'm in a tech space, but I'm on a completely different side of it, right? So the fact of the matter is, when you have a channel like this, you can bring people on. It helps keep you sharp, because then you can start to research when people ask you questions and this and that, the other. People ask me questions about MIS degrees in colleges in India. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, the majority of them are in the US that I know of, right? But I go and research, and you learn about this stuff, and you start to be able to ask and answer those questions, right? So absolutely, having a YouTube channel is not only bringing you the ability to create a brand for yourself, but also to solve people's problems, and also the ability to continuously learn, because you are going to be continuously learning. So I love that. Professor Black Ops.
Let me jump on that real quick. I just got a job offer. Somebody saw me interviewing somebody, and I just got a federal interview. I think the pay was $175 because somebody saw me doing an interview on my YouTube channel.
Yep. See, exposure. That's it, right? I mean, like, it's amazing that you said that, because something like that most recently happened for me too. Professor Black Ops, you're absolutely right. When you have and you're building a brand like that, and you're looking to help people, people are going to be looking at people and looking at your skill sets and what you're doing. And, it's going to open up other opportunities for you as well, too. So a great thing. I'm glad that you said that. Brother Gibran, who was with us on Saturday, man, shout out to you for the platform. Much respect for doing the work your way, man. I appreciate you, brother, man. Thank you so much for coming on the platform on Saturday and chopping it up with all of us, man. That was a good conversation. I really appreciate that. Restored Highly Favored said this: Aaron, that women part jargon you're splitting is a whole lie. LOL, we need degrees and other stuff. Sometimes women get tried. I don't know what Aaron said, but
I don't know.
Aaron, keep it professional in the chat. If you're talking about women in the chat, we got women watching us, man.
I need a little more detail on that, Aaron.
I do too. I'm not going to get there though if he's talking about women in IT.
It's like Kevin Samuels, man. We IT in it today. We ain't high value in it today. We are high value, but we're not high value in it today. That's a different conversation for a different day.
That's a different conversation for a different day. And not only that, just tech people in general, right? You don't even have to call yourself high value. You just do it, right? That's the whole point. You do it, you're making the money, and you just get it done, right? And that's the whole point. That's pretty awesome. Aaron B said, "Scroll up." Nah, I'm not even going to go to it, Aaron B. You're starting to cause some trouble in here. So we're not going to allow you to do that. Well, guys, Professor Black Ops, man, anything else you want to contribute to the show today? I wanted to bring you on just to chop it up, right? To talk about cybersecurity, especially around the introduction of it. One thing I do want to ask you, right? Because, as a professor, I remember you saying this to me, that there was somebody that was in your class who was a archaeologist or something like that, and they went back to school. Talk about this, because you like to talk about the money aspects of it, right? And that's something that we haven't talked about. Talk about the money that you can actually make in cybersecurity, because I want to lead people off with that piece of it, right? To give them the ability to just understand what we're talking about here. We're talking about life changing, right? We're talking about something that you can you can change your entire situation by spending a year getting a degree, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But the at the grand scheme of things, you're talking about life changing money. Right. So talk about salaries and the ranges of things like that, so that people who are interested in cybersecurity, who's kind of on the fence, can potentially even do a little bit more research on it. Talk about that.
I'm going to start with the team I work on. I'm just going to talk crushing generalities. My team is old. My team is seasoned. Everybody on that team makes six figures. Everybody. The lowest person is going to be six figures. Now let's work for a big organization. You got 50. You got some junior cybersecurity people. They got a couple years experience, and they're looking at logs, and they're working on stock. They're still going to be at 75 or 80 at the lowest. The two is once you get some experience, once you take the step, and once you start managing people. I mean, you had an article. You can easily make 200, 300,000. I'm in the Midwest, man. I'm in Indiana with cornfields. You make six figures in Indiana, you killing it because housing here is cheap.
Yep.
We're not talking about $4,000 in the studio. You can get a decent apartment for $950. You ain't high up, but you ain't in the hood. So if you're making six figures and your apartment's $900, like my man Heights, you can buy some more real estate, right? You have some disposable income, right? And two is like we talked about, cybersecurity is vast. Yep. Like we talked about security analysts, we talked about red team, blue team, purple team, CISOs. We talked about the compliance manager. She bossed me around. Killer black lady. I'm going to have her on the channel. Super smart. She's six figures. She's not technical, right? She's managing the compliance so we can do what we need to do. So there's so many avenues in cybersecurity. Just do the work. Shout out to my man Kev Tech, just doing big things. I always got to give out a shout out to him. We were just chopping it up on LinkedIn. We were talking about learning. I told him 53-year-old people got to learn too. shout out to old people. So
shout out to my man Kev IT support, guys. Another fantastic YouTuber who's out there giving a game on help desk and IT support, guys. If this is another way, guys, that if you want to break into IT, right, go and watch Kev IT Support's channel, because I've gone through his videos and he does detailed analysis on the things that you can start doing today to become or to get into IT and start making and growing a salary like right away. And a lot of it, we talk about degrees and stuff like that over here, but you don't necessarily need a degree to go into that level of IT over there, right? And you can still make a great salary, a great living, continue to learn and climb the ladder and make even more. And Kev Tech, he does a fantastic job at demonstrating the types of skills that you need and the things you need to learn in order for you to get to that position. So shout out to Kev Tech, man. I appreciate you coming through the channel, my man, and staying here and watching us, man. We're going to have to collab one of these days, my brother. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing as well for us, my man. Who else we got out here?
Let me chime in on Kev Tech.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a veteran and I've been in there, Kev Tech Azure videos, even though I'm at a high level, I need to understand the basics of Azure. It's different than Amazon. I learned a lot for looking at his basic videos. I can map it to AWS, but you always learning because there's just so much stuff out here you got to learn. Like I look like every vendor software that come into our organization, so I got to understand Amazon. I got to understand Azure. I got to understand Rackspace, right? They're each a little different. So his beginning set for Azure I thought was great. I learned a little bit from that too.
I've checked out a lot of his videos as well too, man. And seriously, you want to learn something? If you want to learn, technical stacks and stuff like that, and how to do things from on the Microsoft and Linux and stuff like that, go check out Kev IT Support, man. He'll get you right. Let's see. Let's see. You can reference your potential employers to YouTube channel so that they can see. Yeah. So Kev Tech, one of the things that he actually said was, doors open when you help people. And I'll go back to this one, right? Because that's absolutely right. Doors open when you help people. People notice what you're doing, just need to have patience. Patience is a virtue. 100%, Kev. I'm like, I can just tell you this right now, man. When people see the authenticity, or put it like this, doors open when you solve people's problems and you solve problems for people, right? And also solving problems for people is helping people. And with that being said, opportunities are going to be endless. When you actually put in the time to help people, it's going to continuously stack up, and it's going to be abundance of love or whatever else you're going to get from that, because it's energy you're putting out to the universe in your time, and it always comes back. And typically when it comes back, if you're doing the right thing, it comes back 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, right? So that's why I am under the complete belief of helping people, being a positive person, because everything you put out there, it comes back eventually. And I want to see it comes back 10 times, right? So you're absolutely right. You put it out there, you help people, you solve people's problems, and before you know it, man, you're doing very well for yourself. You're doing very well for yourself. I'm glad that you actually said that, my man.
Facts.
Anything in here? This is very constructive energy. I appreciate you, Cadbury Hardwell. So you already talked about the salary. It's vast. You can make a lot of money in cybersecurity. You can make a lot of money in tech in general, guys. I just, that's why we talk about it on this channel, and that's why we have some of the experts that come through and chop it with us. Professor Black Ops, anything else you want to leave us with, my man?
No, I think KevTech, Dewan, just get your lab on, grind. Let's get it. It's out here for us to get it. Like you said, there's a ton of channels. If you reach out to me on my channel, ProfessorBlackOps.gmail.com, I'm going to hook you up with somebody or I'm going to help you. Like I said, I came on here, I didn't want to step, so I'm going to give you some advice. If you need some more advice, I'm going to say dig in your pocket, see my man BlackHeights. He's going to take you over the top, man. He got that skill. You getting a help desk, KevTech's in the house, Linux, keep it techies in the house, network bros in the house. There's just so many people, techno chatter. There's just so many guys in this space that's helping. So I'm going to give you my 2 cents, then I'm going to send you to somebody that I know is going to even help you even more. So, but my specialty is federal cybersecurity, meaning you report in a federal agency, IRS, FISMA, OSHA. So, but just get it. It's out here, like the young say, let's get the bag, man. I'm old. I got one more bag to get when I'm 60. Then I'm going to shut it down. So let's get this last bag for me. A couple more bags for KevTech and the young guys. I'm 53. I need one more bag to get to 60. Then I'm shutting it down, fellas. And I told KevTech this morning, I like you see you running with the torch, young guy. Let me know if I can help you. I'm old. I just need one more. I just need a little bag. I don't even need a big bag. I need one more little bag. We're going to make it, fellas. Let's get it. That's all I got, man. Let's get it.
I appreciate you so much, PBO, man. Thank you so much for stopping into the show today. Guys, wonderful interaction in the chat, man. Guys, thank you so much for all the support, all the super chats. I really appreciate you guys continue to support the channel, man. And you know how we do it. You guys know how we do it, man. Let me put myself up on the screen here. And until next time, y'all. Peace.